have a busy corner right here, don't we? Notice how sometimes people kind of go out of their way to go around us when we're out there instead of coming through us? Why is that? That's a question we need to ask ourselves. We talked about radical hospitality when we did the 5 practices of growing congregation. You know what radical hospitality does? Radical hospitality is when somebody's coming through the midst of you, you're eager to say, "Hey, how are you today?" Not just step out of their way. Radical hospitality is an eagerness to give witness. How many of us are eager to talk about Jesus? You know, the opportunities are everywhere. And you don't have to be pushy. Eagerness is about our orientation toward God. And Paul is saying, and this is very important. I want to make sure I get the language right. So let me actually look at the text for a second. He says, "I do not say this as a command." In other words, Paul isn't saying, as the founding pastor of this church, and as an apostle of Jesus Christ, I could tell you, you should do this. But I don't want to do that. He says, I don't want to command you. But rather, he said, I'm testing the genuineness of your love against the earnestness of others. And then he gives us the example, right? Who is Jesus? The way, the truth, and the life, right? So who's the example for us? Jesus. So he says, "For you know the generous act of our Lord Jesus Christ, though he was rich, for your sakes he became poor, so that by his poverty you might become rich. And if the eagerness is there," he says in verse 12, "the gift is acceptable according to what one has, not according to what one does not have." Okay? You see, the eagerness is more important than the amount. The eagerness to give out of the abundance of what God has given you. I want to shift gears for a second and talk about the basic dichotomy of 2 views of reality. And eagerness is rooted in one view, and miserliness, stinginess, is rooted in the other. One is a theology of abundance. Who is God? Who is God? God is the creator of all that is, the King of the universe, the one who possesses every possible thing one could desire, right? So, in God is abundance. God is abundant in mercy. God is abundant in steadfast love. God is abundant in forgiveness. God is abundant in blessings. If our focus is on God, we should have a theology of abundance. God has blessed us richly. God continues to bless us richly. We have not only everything we need, but more than we could possibly need. On the other hand, is the philosophy of scarcity. Oh, there's only so much to go around. If I don't get my share and keep my share, I'm going to lose out. Right? This is a basic philosophy that governs most of the problems we have in the world. Yep, that's what I said. It governs most of the problems we have in the world. Because people focus on finite resources. How many people are in India? 1.1 billion.
and counting.
Okay, well, wait a little bit, it'll be another point something. And what's the approximate population of China? 1.7 billion, something. They're very close, but I think China's still ahead a little bit, right? Okay. And what's the approximate population of the United States these days? 330 million. Let's see. Correct me if my math is bad. 330 million is like less than a third of 1 billion, right? All right. Now, the Chinese people and the Indian people and the American people all want enough. But if they're convinced that there's not enough, what are they going to do? Well, we already know what they're going to do. Why can't we get a treaty on greenhouse gases among all the nations? Because some nations say, well, it'll hurt us economically. You've already got more than we got, so we have to catch up before we are willing to agree to something, right? Or what about nukes? They're a little bit in our news lately. North Korea, Iran. What's the whole point about nukes? Well, if some people have them and others don't, we're afraid you'll use your nukes because, somehow or another it will benefit you. And in the end, what have wars always really been about? Taking what someone else has because you don't think you have enough. Right? Or, to put it more truly, in most cases, taking what you want from them before they take from you. Because in this scarcity philosophy, you better get yours, because if you don't, someone else will get it, right? And eventually you won't have enough, will you?